Tonight, a new warning about the desperate hunger crisis in war-torn Gaza. The first ship carrying much-needed food arrives by sea. This as more U.S. aid drops from the sky. Israel faces mounting pressure abroad and at home.
I'm Chris Livesay in Tel Aviv, where protesters want the hostages to come home and Netanyahu to step down.
Also tonight, SWAT standoff. A gunman takes hostages after a killing spree in Pennsylvania. We'll have the latest. Plus, real estate revolution, how a landmark legal settlement could change how homes are bought and sold, putting money back into your hands. What's wrong with this picture? Royal life once again in sharp focus.
I'm Ramy Inocencio in Windsor. After Kate Middleton's photo edit fumble, renewed questions. How is the Princess of Wales?
And later, need some deep sleep? We've got just the place. It's some 1,300 feet underground at a hotel like no other.
Honestly, it's just blown my mind. It's been absolutely wonderful.
This is the CBS Weekend News from New York with Adriana Diaz.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Chin in for Adriana, and we are following several big stories tonight, including the latest from the Middle East. But we begin in New Jersey, where an hours-long standoff between police and a murder suspect has just ended. It unfolded this morning with a series of shootings that left 3 dead in suburban Philadelphia. Police have named the suspect as Andre Gordon.
There were 3 other individuals at the residence, including a minor, inside the home who were able to hide and avoid being shot by Gordon as he went through the house searching for them.
Gordon then barricaded himself inside a home a few miles away with hostages. A SWAT team managed to get them to safety. Gordon surrendered to police. Among the dead, a 13-year-old girl. All the victims are believed to be known to the suspect. Now to the latest from the Israel-Hamas war. Today, a U.S. Air Force C-130 flew over Gaza's coast, making it the 12th American airdrop and food supply mission to the besieged territory. This as the UN warns that an alarming number of children in Gaza are suffering from the most severe form of starvation. CBS's Chris Livesay joins us for more on that. Chris?
Good evening, Nancy. The people of Gaza are contending with escalating war and hunger as aid into the besieged enclave cannot arrive fast enough. Israel insists it's putting zero limits on aid getting into the war zone, instead blaming groups like the UN over lack of personnel to move it where it's most badly needed. That's why additional aid is on its way by sea for the first time in this war. More than 100 tons from Europe arrived Friday on a humanitarian ship. But that's not slowing down Israel's potential ground assault on the southern city of Rafah, which Prime Minister Netanyahu has now approved, despite warnings from the Biden administration. The assault itself is believed to be at least weeks away, unless there's a ceasefire in exchange for hostages held by Hamas. Israeli protesters we met today are furious, calling for Netanyahu to step down over his handling of the war and his failure to save those abducted more than 5 months ago. About 100 are believed to still be alive, including several Americans. To get them back, sources at the ceasefire talks in Doha tell CBS News that Hamas is now demanding the release of up to 1,000 Palestinian prisoners and a pause in fighting. Israel says so far that is unrealistic. Nancy?
Chris Livesay, thank you. This weekend, voters in Russia are casting ballots in a presidential election that's all but certain to extend Vladimir Putin's rule. He's held office for nearly 25 years now. Several people have been detained for vandalism at polling stations, including dye poured into ballot boxes. One person also threw a Molotov cocktail. Tonight, former President Trump is on the campaign trail in the battleground state of Ohio. This as President Biden gets set for a late night in the nation's capital. CBS's Natalie Brand is at the White House. Natalie?
Nancy, President Biden tonight speaks at the annual Gridiron Dinner, a prestigious gathering of Washington elite. He resumes his battleground state swing early next week. Presumptive GOP nominee Donald Trump held his first rally of the week today as he splits time between court and the campaign trail. Former President Donald Trump returned to friendly territory Saturday, a state he won twice.
I'm thrilled to be back with the proud, hardworking patriots of the great state of Ohio. I won this state and you won this state.
He's not only campaigning for himself in Ohio, but his pick for the U.S. Senate seat ahead of a competitive three-way GOP primary.
I think there is a divide in our state, obviously, yes.
Friday, Trump's former vice president, Mike Pence, said he cannot in good conscience endorse him again. But in the courtroom, Team Trump did have a small victory in delaying his New York hush money trial, postponed until at least mid-April. And in Georgia, Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade resigned from the 2020 election interference case after the judge there ruled either he or DA Fani Willis and her office had to step aside following a hearing about their romantic relationship. It remains unclear how many of Trump's 4 criminal cases will go to trial before the fall as voters brace for a rematch.
Not everybody's thrilled about it. Our members are focused on turning out for President Biden.
President Biden aimed to energize voters this week in key battlegrounds of Michigan and Wisconsin, 2 states that helped him win the White House last election. On Tuesday, President Biden heads to 2 of the Southwest's most competitive battleground states, Nevada and Arizona. Both have large Latino populations, a key demographic both campaigns are fighting to win over. Nancy?
Natalie Brand, thank you. There's a seismic shift coming in the nation's real estate market. A landmark settlement could change how homes are bought and sold and keep more money in your bank account. CBS's Elise Preston has the details. Elise?
Nancy, it's being called a major turning point in real estate sales. Buyers and sellers potentially being able to negotiate commissions with their agents.
It's a positive sign in a challenging market. The standard realtor commission could soon be going away.
Long term, this is a seismic shift in a stodgy old business called real estate.
The National Association of Realtors agreeing to pay $418 million in damages to settle a series of lawsuits alleging it conspired to boost agent commissions. Right now, the U.S. average commission rate is about 5 or 6%, one of the highest in the world. U.S. consumers pay about $100 billion in commissions each year, which could be reduced by 30%.
I think for sellers, you're going to negotiate with your agent to come up with a fee that is reasonable for you. For buyers, it's a game changer. You may decide you don't even want a realtor.
New Jersey-based broker Michael Latman says this is a radical shift for realtors.
Do you foresee brokers and agents leaving the business?
A year from now, we might see 10% or more fewer realtors. Brokers, I think, are going to need to step up their game in terms of what is their value proposition.
And with historically low inventory and higher mortgage rates, experts say it could take some time to see a drop in home prices.
Now, the settlement has one final hurdle to clear. It has to be approved by the courts, but the new rules could go into effect as early as July. Nancy?
Elise Preston, thank you. Tonight, Britain's Prince and Princess of Wales are signaling they plan to be more open about how Kate is recovering from abdominal surgery. But so far, the controversy over her extended absence from the public eye has only gotten worse. CBS's Rami Inocencio is in London tonight.
Good evening. Kate's photo fumble really opened the door to global rumor and speculation about her health when the intent was likely to tamp that all down. One longtime royal watcher we spoke to said that it hasn't been a great week for the monarchy.
Publicly, it's royal business as usual at Windsor, including today's changing of the Grenadier Guard. This is where, on castle grounds, Kate Middleton, Princess of Wales, is said to be recuperating from abdominal surgery. But 2 months later, her well-being is under its sharpest global scrutiny so far, both at home.
It appears the Princess of Wales may have fanned more flames of conspiracy.
And abroad.
What the is going on with Kate Middleton?
And for some, fueling conspiracy and scandal.
It's a beautiful shot of a mom and 3 happy kids, is what they want you to believe.
This photo, likely released to show Kate in good health and to silence controversy, instead made things worse after it was revealed it was digitally doctored. The princess apologized, raising new questions about what's going on behind the palace walls and mockery on social media.
The fact that a little bit of photoshopping has been so overblown.
Royanika is royal editor for the Times paper.
Social media, but it has not helped in what is a very febrile, difficult time for the royal family.
And with Kate absent since Christmas, King Charles undergoing cancer treatment, the royal family, following the death of Queen Elizabeth, is being tested once again. In this case, Kate out of the public eye in a frenzy of social media attention. Most, but not all Brits we spoke to said Kate is entitled to privacy.
I think it's really hard to understand really why they're not telling us.
She has to accept that with regards to her position that people be interested, but that doesn't necessarily mean she has to then share.
And Nancy, just now, Royanika on X just posted that Prince William and Kate plan to be, quote, clear and more open about her recovery after she resumes public duties.
Rami and Asuncio, thank you. Tonight, St. Patrick's Day celebrations are already underway in several U.S. cities ahead of tomorrow's big holiday. In New York City, Irish eyes shining all over Fifth Avenue for the 263rd parade with about 150,000 marchers. It was held today so it wouldn't conflict with religious observances tomorrow. And in Chicago, the annual tradition of dyeing the river green. It was started by the local plumbers union nearly 70 years ago. The harmless green dye was originally used to spot leaks in pipes. Straight ahead on the CBS Weekend News, the historic dam project in California, reversing decades-old issues for the indigenous people on its banks. A major river in the West is being unleashed as part of the country's largest ever dam removal project. It'll reopen hundreds of miles of threatened salmon habitat and restore thousands of acres of land. Here's Ben Tracy.
One of our oldest stories talks about the connection between us and the river and the salmon in it.
Frankie Myers is a member of the Yurok tribe, Native Americans who for 10,000 years have been tied to the Klamath River and the abundant salmon that once swam through it.
Without salmon in the river, there's no need for Yurok people to be here.
But this essential artery was blocked more than a century ago when construction started on 4 dams along the Klamath. They generated power that fueled western expansion, but decimated the salmon population, which could no longer swim upstream to spawn. Stagnant water behind the dams became a toxic stew of green algae.
And so what have these dams symbolized to you?
As a monument to manifest destiny, this idea that we're not a part of nature. It's here for our use, and we can do whatever we want with no consequences.
You guys want to have war? Let's have war.
Now, after decades of conflict and tribal activism against the dams, the once shackled Klamath is being set free. The dams, which no longer generate much electricity, are being torn down in a $450 million deconstruction project.
We're standing on top of a lot of concrete.
It's a lot of concrete. That's what it took to impound this river.
Mark Bransom is CEO of the Klamath Renewal Corporation.
How big of a project is this to take down these 4 dams?
We believe it may be the largest dam removal and salmon restoration project ever undertaken anywhere in the world.
But last month at the base of another dam, hundreds of thousands of tiny hatchery salmon were killed, likely by high water pressure as they passed through a tunnel open to let the river flow through. Once the dams are completely removed, native salmon populations are expected to return, and seeds are now being spread to regrow plants on land drowned here decades ago.
Literally planting seeds for our future. I don't think there's a better metaphor that you could come up with.
Bringing hope back to the banks of this river. Ben Tracy, CBS News, Copco, California.
Still ahead on the CBS Weekend News, doggy DNA. What consumers need to know about those testing kits that promise to trace your puppy's provenance. Pet DNA tests are big business and growing fast, valued at $235 million worldwide in 2022. But how accurate are they? In tonight's Weekend Journal, Christina Hager of CBS station WBZ in Boston put the companies to the test with some surprising results.
You're a good girl, Cleo.
My sweet dog, Cleo. All her life, I've had no idea what breed she is until maybe now that she reluctantly let me swab her cheek to be sent to geneticist Eleanor Carlson.
We sent the swab in, they put it on some big fancy machines and read off the string of DNA.
She's a researcher at UMass Medical School and the Broad Institute and runs a lab called Darwin's Ark. Digging into pet DNA science, an industry on track to be worth $723 million by 2030.
I personally do have concerns about the fact that from a consumer standpoint, you don't always know what you're getting when you work with those companies. There's not a lot of rules in this space.
That's me swabbing my own cheek before sending the samples off to 3 different companies. Oravet reported my cheek sample failed to provide the data necessary to perform the breed ID analysis. Then Wisdom Panel messaged that my sample didn't provide enough DNA to produce a reliable result. The results we got from the company DNA My Dog linked dog breeds to a human sample. Carlson says the science has important value when it's done right.
We might be able to figure out which dogs are at risk of getting cancer and screen them more often and be able to diagnose it earlier. We might be able to develop new treatments for that cancer.
She ran my dog Cleo's DNA, all these numbers and codes showing her genetic makeup. The biggest percentage pointing to
German Shepherd. I never would have guessed that.
Carlson says pet owners should know that dog genetics have not fully arrived yet, which is why she hopes more will donate DNA to her lab. The bigger the database, which she's making public but anonymous, the closer the science comes to unlocking the mystery under all that fur. Christina Hager, CBS News, Boston.
Next on the CBS Weekend News, vowing to go on. Celine Dion's new public message on the disease that silenced her career. A message of gratitude from Celine Dion as she thanked fans for their support. The singer shared a photo with her sons for International Stiff Person Syndrome Awareness Day, writing, "Trying to overcome this autoimmune disorder has been one of the hardest experiences of my life, but I remain determined to one day get back onto the stage." Dion was diagnosed in 2022. Tonight, the Mega Millions jackpot is growing. There was no winner in last night's drawing, which puts Tuesday's prize pot at an estimated $875 million. No one has won the Mega Millions jackpot in 28 consecutive drawings. When we return, Down and Dirty, the hotel experience that reaches new heights underground. Finally tonight, we visit a hotel taking hospitality to new heights by going low with the deepest room on Earth. And as CBS's Ian Lee shows us, even getting there is part of the experience.
The Welsh countryside offers stunning vistas. Rugged peaks frame sweeping landscapes. From the Deep Sleep Hotel, you'll see none of that, but it's no less spectacular.
You want it nice and snug, so not too tight that you will give yourself a headache.
At check-in, guests get a hard hat, headlamp, boots, and a mountain guide. The journey, about 1,400 feet down to the world's deepest hotel, takes nerve.
Yeah? Bye.
Descending into dark caverns, navigating flooded tunnels, ziplining across a vast abyss, and squeezing through some pretty tight spaces.
This is an old Victorian bridge, at least what's left of a bridge.
For more than 200 years, miners extracted slate from this mountain, much of it by candlelight, creating a maze of tunnels.
It goes miles that way and it goes miles that way. Yeah, huge place.
After 4 exhausting hours, we finally reached the hotel.
Honestly, it's just blown my mind. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Guests sleep in climate-controlled cabins, and groundwater helps to generate electricity.
Wi-Fi in here, you've even got a toilet in here.
All the modern amenities.
Exactly, yeah.
Running water comes from a spring, but there's no shower, and dinner comes in a pouch.
You can't pass this up, surely. I don't think you can.
Once in a lifetime opportunity. Yeah.
An opportunity that takes deep sleep to a whole new level. Ian Lee, CBS News, underground in Wales.
And they even have Wi-Fi. That's a CBS Weekend News for this Saturday. First thing tomorrow, Sunday morning with Jane Pauley. Then it's Face the Nation. Margaret Brennan's guests include former Vice President Mike Pence. I'm Nancy Chen in New York. Good night.